Everybody ready to go? Okay. Welcome to the September meeting of the Buffalo Fiscal Stability Authority. Thank you for being here. Earlier today, the Governance Committee met and authorized the submission of the compiled Board of Directors self-evaluation to the New York State Authority's Budget Office. A final confidential copy of this item has been provided to you today in your folder. Also earlier today, the Audit, Finance, and Budget Committee met and recommended the full board approve the audited financial statements as presented to the committee by representatives of Lunsman and McCormick, and also to approve the 2025 annual report as presented to the committee. Our agenda today also includes a discussion on the status of the opera spending in the city of Buffalo and the current status of the parking authority. I'd like to bring your attention to draft 2026 meeting calendar located under tab 5 of your board book. Please review that at your leisure and the proposed schedule and inform Jeanette if there are any scheduling conflicts you're aware of, or if you need to change one of the days. A revised calendar will be distributed by email as needed. The final schedule of meetings will be brought to the full board for a vote in our December board meeting. As is customary, we will open the meeting to public comment on any matters discussed today at the conclusion of our meeting. Any individual watching today can submit a request to speak during the meeting to our email address at info@bfsa.newyorkny.gov. Access to the public commentary period is also posted to our website on the board meeting page. We will begin today's meeting with Executive Director Rowe taking the roll.
Secretary Floss.
Here.
Director Sanfilippo.
Here.
Mayor Scanlon.
Present.
County Executive Poloncarz.
Here.
Director Keenan.
Here.
And Director Hogue.
Here.
We have a quorum present.
Thank you. Our first item of business is to approve the minutes from the meeting held on August 12th, 2025. The directors will find a draft of those minutes and the accompanying draft resolution in their tab, into their board book under tab 3. Is there a motion to accept the minutes?
I'll make a motion.
Second? Second. All right. Any discussion of the minutes? Go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, after reviewing the minutes, I would like to reflect on I'd like to have them amended to reflect my comments regarding the $20 million in prior year accumulated unspent bond proceeds that city taxpayers are paying the debt service on. Am I missing this again?
You are. These minutes are from August 12th. We didn't have time to put the special meeting minutes together yet. That will be in the next board book, and I will have the $20 million in there.
You know what I'll do? Let me talk to you guys in private. This way we can get this thing resolved. Just like,
But Director Sanfilippo, if you have a written suggestion for the meetings, we would love to receive that.
You guys are killing me. Will you catch up?
We're trying.
We're approving minutes from last year.
Yes, we are. And I want to thank all of the directors for being here so that we could actually have a quorum to approve the minutes.
And let me apologize to all the directors for my wasted time.
No, it's perfectly fine, Andy. Okay, any other changes to the minutes? Seeing none, all those in favor of approving the minutes?
There were no changes.
There was no change. Okay. We're waiting till next time.
And they'll be in it.
And that'll be December.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the minutes are approved. The next item is to affirm the recommendation by the Audit, Finance, and Budget Committee to approve both the 2025 audited financial statements and the 2025 annual report. DFSA is required to file both of these items with the New York State Controller's Office. Additionally, these items will be submitted to various state officials and local officials and will be posted to the BFSA website. Copies of the report were provided to you under tab 2 in your board book. We have a representative from Lunsman and McCormick present today to answer any questions you may have on the related audit. Additionally, any questions on the annual report can be directed to Executive Director Rowe. Are there any questions for either Ms. Kraus or Executive Director? Let me just say again, thank you for your hard work and your presentation, particularly at the committee meeting. I think it was excellent. And as you can see, you answered all of our questions then, so we appreciate everything that you've done. Are there any questions for Executive Director Rowe? And again, thank you and the staff for the hours and hours we know that you put in. And we will just note the comments that were made at the committee meeting. And thank you again for that.
Thank you.
I will now move to affirm the committee's recommendations to approve these two reports. The draft resolution has been provided to you under tab 4. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
So moved.
Second.
Any comments? Any additional comments? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion passes. We have 2 items of discussion on our agenda for the city. The first is the status update of the ARPA funding program and the related disbursements of these federal stimulus funds. The final rules over the ARPA program require funds be distributed by December 31st, 2026, which is approximately 15 months away from today. A schedule of programs included in the ARPA recovery plan with related use of funds has been prepared by BFSA staff and has been provided to you today. Commissioner Noteworthy, would you please provide us with this update?
Sure.
Thank you.
City of Buffalo completed its annual 2025 report submitted to the Treasury Department effective ending June 30th, 2025. Also, our second quarter reports for 2025 for the same ending for the months April, May, and June. To provide an update on that, the total expenditure that we had was $279.9 million. Most of that included support for housing, infrastructure, public health, community safety, and cultural initiatives. Just during the last quarterly period that we reported on, we got over $19 million out the door. A large chunk of that was for support for Ben Lake housing development, affordable housing, as well as park access, various Department of Public Works construction projects. Most of this allocation funded through 13 different funding categories that the Treasury Department outlined for us according to the criteria. So we are about 84% through our total allocation, which was over $331 million. And outside of that, we're pretty much on schedule to expend our funds, which have to be totally extinguished by December 2026. We feel we're ahead of schedule in that regard. And if there are any projects that are not on pace to be spent, there are contacts with the organizations. Some are still in the planning phases, but ideally we want to fully expend the money, as I've stated months ago, by the fall of 2026. We do not want to have any last minute issues when it comes to those expenditures.
So quick question.
Yep.
So there's a category, city arrears forgiveness program, debt forgiveness, and it looks like there has been no disbursements on that as of yet. What is that?
Yes, so that program, and that's been, discussed, several times through the Common Council. So there was originally in, an earlier ARPA plan, from the prior administration to provide arrears of payments for water, sewer, property tax, I think I'm forgetting one, water, sewer, property tax.
It looks like.
And our user fee, yes, and user fee. The city, pivoted to having its residents take advantage of the state BHAF program and some other programs, which serve the same purpose, which allowed us to allocate ARPA funds, for other means. We did have about $2.5 million in property tax arrear payments, allocated to the general fund. But the other items, particularly the water sewer forgiveness, that was converted to funding for construction payments for our water infrastructure. So that's why you would see those were not paid out.
So those do appear to be paid out. So as far as, and I'm sorry, I could be confusing some. So it says for the water and sewer debt forgiveness.
Yeah, that was mislabeled. That was under ARPA Amendment 6 and 7. That was reclassified. So that's actually a typo.
So this was not.
Yeah, that wasn't, no.
And that
was formerly the allocation,
right.
but that was actually for water and sewer infrastructure construction.
I thought there was discussion
Yep.
about that, and I was wondering when I saw that was there. Okay. But, and so for this little over $2 million, you're reallocating those funds to something else?
Talking about the city arrears.
Yeah, when I jump back up to the city arrears forgiveness program.
Yeah, so that's been spent out to the general fund for tax payments, and that was actually, adjusted. I have to double check because the amount is closer to 2.5.
Okay.
But to your point, it shows that none of it has been dispersed, and the balance told us is going to be dispersed between now and December of 2026.
All of those bills have already been paid for the user fee payment.
For the
So
city
city
arrears
arrears
forgiveness program.
Yeah, that particular program, because there were a few arrears programs. This particular one, I believe it's supposed to be for property tax. That was already spent out. So I have to double check the particulars as to why this report.
Great,
It's showing.
just so you're
Yeah.
aware, this is as of June 30th also, so if it was paid out since June 30th, it wouldn't be reflected in here.
Yeah, I have to.
Came right from the quarterly filing that was made with the federal government.
Okay, yeah, I'll double check the numbers on it. That I can assure you though, that was already paid out. Those bills were already.
And so was used for forgiveness? It was or wasn't?
That was for property tax forgiveness, and that was closer to $2.5 million.
County Executive?
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Commissioner, first off, I want to thank you for putting together through your office the balance. Would it be possible if we could have this updated on a monthly basis, especially as we get closer to the point in which this has to be expended? I say that out of having to deal with it ourselves in Erie County with regards to projects that are nearing completion but aren't there yet, and then a few that we're actually in the process of having to, because it does not appear that the projects will be completed by the end of '26, and this is on our single-family affordable housing program that we have with the city, which is moving along well. With our multi-unit one, we are going to actually pull back a number of the authorizations of the notice of fundings that we issued because we do not believe they could be properly finished. We are in the process of actually choosing new ones to give them to that can be finished. So when it comes to the construction, of which the largest chunk of this is in relation to construction, which is in some ways even out of the hands of the city, I just think it's very important that the directors be updated on a monthly basis, as well as specifics associated with some of these projects, because as we know, projects are taking longer to get done. They are requiring more, unfortunately, to pay for them than we had in the past because of the increases across the board, inflation and other factors. And I just don't want to see the city be in a situation where we're in September of 2026, coming out of October, and realizing now millions of dollars are not going to be properly dispersed because of construction delays and things like that, and then have the city have to pay that back. I think it's important that through the remainder of this year and going into next, that we at least get a monthly update.
You know, actually, interesting you say that, because my office actually has been in contact with analyst Bryce Link. We have established that we are going to meet monthly to provide those financials as they come in, because we get payment requests consistently. We're dealing with the backup information that these different organizations provide us. We have to process it accordingly. So, I mean, I personally don't have an issue with that, but just to provide some more assurance, and this is, as I've said on the record some time ago, by the fall of 2026, that's the goal when we are fully paying things out. So we're already looking at identifying projects that don't seem like they can realistically meet those payouts, and we'll pivot closer to late winter for some of
Would it be appropriate, Ray, would you like us to have a motion to formally request monthly reports to the BFSA so you can take it back? If that's helpful, we can do that.
I personally don't mind. That's
I'll make that motion.
Thank you. Second? Okay. So we can have a motion on the floor to have the city report to us monthly on the ARPA expenditures and their completion. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That way.
Yeah, so each meeting, we could just have a monthly update on that. That's.
So I do have a question, county executive, you said that if they don't expend to pay it back, are you talking about returning the funds or?
Yes.
Okay.
If the funds are not expended in full by December 31st of 2026, this just isn't for the city. Any entity
Right.
that received the traditional ARPA program has to pay it back to the Department of Treasury. And we are dealing with it, as I said, right now, where we are removing notices, or pulling back notices of funding that we entered into for our multi-tenant housing projects, because it's become apparent to us that the projects will not be completed and the funds will not be fully dispersed by then. I think the city, this is usually more of a problem outside of city government itself, but the third party that you enter into a contract to perform the services.
Right.
So I think it's just important that we do this now rather than this time next year. The city would be in a bad situation.
Yeah, because, I mean, there's time, and we are allowed to repurpose the funding for already obligated projects, within that, so we would rather do that sooner than later to take advantage of that.
I guess my question is, what's the city doing to help community groups who obviously don't have the expertise to fill out the paperwork and get these things done? How are we ensuring that we're doing everything we can to make sure if you've given these folks money and they're expecting it, that we're helping them to be able to do it in a way that we can then pay them so that it doesn't fall through the cracks? Because it seems to me that's a big hole, and we saw that hole with the lead abatement program at our last meeting, that obviously things have fallen through the cracks. So I'm just wondering, are there individuals either in your shop or in the mayor's shop that are working with these individuals that know enough about how ARPA works to be able to make sure that they can expend the money in the appropriate time and don't, feel bad because you gave it to them and took it back for no fault of theirs, but no fault of ours? I just don't want to see that happen.
Right, yeah, so each and every project has a project manager assigned to it, which is part of city staff.
Right.
Okay, once I first started serving in this, my current capacity, I had a large meeting basically establishing certain guidelines on how, we want to continue operating and running, the administration and payout, requests of these projects. So pretty much all the project managers have been briefed. The budget office, in conjunction with, the Division of Urban Affairs, led by, Director, Geraldine Ford, her and her team are very big on compliance. They helped, draft the annual report. Project managers, when they get payment requests in, they go to the Division of Urban Affairs. All the backup paperwork is fully vetted. Once that gets the go-ahead from Urban Affairs, that comes over to the budget office, and I have an individual there who, processes the payments and then tracks those payments out to make sure that they're moving along. So as far as the paperwork, for the organizations though, we have, and that was in collaboration with, Audit and Control, we actually have, an easy-to-follow cover sheet that for every payment request, the organizations can fill out, basically summarizing, all of their backup information. And that's provided a lot less, friction when it comes to getting approvals, and we've found that that's worked really well.
Do you have a planning document that would have flags put up so that on specific dates, if specific things haven't been done, that you're at least gonna find out why they haven't been done and decide whether you want to continue or not?
Yes, yeah, so a lot of these agreements, especially with the cultural organizations, they have budgets in place, and they did have a projected, spend down, when it comes to those.
You see what I'm saying is in a traditional, if I was a project manager, I would have a Gantt chart that says on this date, I've expected this to happen. On this date, I've expected this to happen. And if they haven't happened, that would put a flag up to say that this, you would talk to that project manager, you would talk to these people, so that it isn't September when we find out they've missed 3 steps in the process, that we catch them at the beginning. So I would wonder, I mean, and you would hope that this would be all over on a big board somewhere in your office, or maybe not your office, but somebody's office, where it would have all of that, so that somebody is watching over all of that, because otherwise, it seems to me, we all wake up and all of a sudden there's a couple $1 million left over, but somehow missed the tracks. So I guess I'm just trying to make sure something like that happens.
So there's not one master document, but there are quarterly, milestones that these organizations in their budget have to meet. So each of those organizations and, contracts are a little different, from the construction projects to the organization, community organization. But we reconcile on a quarterly basis, a lot of those milestones, and if something is behind, we do, at least my office looks at that and goes to the project manager to inquire if there's anything that's being left behind.
I think it would be important to start to say, okay, here's where these project managers think how much money is left over now in October, November, December of this year. We had expected this to happen. And it's not an official document. It doesn't mean that we change anything, but maybe that could be shared with the executive. We don't want to get everybody in public upset about it, but we do need to have sort of these kinds of controls, I think, in place, or we're going to find out later on that, covering so many projects that you're going to miss them. And I think that's me.
Understood. We haven't ran into that particular issue yet. We've had pretty much all the projects have been covered. And we're doing an even deeper dive now as we get into the end of this calendar year. But that is definitely good. We can look at that, but we just don't have one master document like that.
But you have everything.
Yeah. There hasn't been any particular issues that you've raised.
They won't until the end.
Until the end, but that's what we're trying, so we're trying to avoid that.
So I just have a couple of ideas, we can move on, I'm concerned. And so one, I think you said earlier on that you're confident that the monies will be dispersed and will be good.
For property tax arrears?
No, I meant
Or-
in-
oh, and-
for all,
I'm sorry.
for all of these.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
And so, and I appreciate the conversation around construction and those unique challenges, but looking at some of the service, items, and these are like a couple at the bottom. So the skills-based job training and then the public health equity initiative. Is that a timing thing, or what are we seeing these large?
Yeah, so some of these projects, are older, when I say older, I mean the execution of them, right? So there are some contracts that were put in place in 2021, 2022. Some of these, like the Public Health Equity Initiative, that was a contract that was just executed earlier this year.
Okay.
So the funding is going to take place
Okay.
in a later portion of
Okay,
our
Okay.
expense schedule.
Gotcha.
And there's several,
so it's some
of the-
timing.
yeah, it's timing. So which is why, and after our Q2 report, we had like close to $20 million going out the door, because pretty much all the funds now are obligated. We have all the contracts in place. So now we're just getting those payment requests
Okay.
and, getting the money out the door.
So the last thing I asked, just for the updated thing of it, you said there was some.
Yeah, so I mean, I didn't personally go
No, right.
through all this, but I'll make sure that, these are up to date,
Okay.
particularly on a monthly basis. That won't be an issue.
You hate to give money back.
Oh, that's not gonna be a thing.
Ray, just one quick question and an observation. So you're pretty confident in all these construction accounts that, you know, these outstanding balances will be satisfied before the deadline?
Yeah, and so, just on a broader, I guess, leaving ARPA in particular, just with city construction in general, a lot of times we don't get invoiced until months later. Sometimes there's a
Okay.
closeout that has to happen. So the actual construction work, from what I understand with all of these projects, are still on schedule. Again, we're gonna do
Mm-hmm.
a thorough review of everything.
Okay,
But yes, we'll get invoiced definitely in time.
okay. And one observation I have, you know, it's somewhat disheartening to know that out of this $331 million appropriation or budget, that 50% of it was spent on revenue replacement. And a lot of that, unfortunately, could have gone to neighborhood projects and capital improvements and so forth. And it's not, again, it's more of an observation how disheartening it is that the city had to spend these kinds of revenues in order to help balance their budgets over the years. And I just feel like the neighborhood got cheated in that regard. Nobody's blame. I'm just disheartening to know that with all that appropriation, that 50% of it went towards, balancing.
And that happened nationwide.
Yeah,
So
no, I
it's
get
not
it.
just here.
Oh, no, I said I just said, it's just disheartening. I'm not blame on anybody. I'm just ashamed, though, that we didn't have the use of stuff.
I understand the sense.
Yeah, okay.
Are there any other questions? Okay. Our last agenda item is to receive an update from Commissioner Noe on the status of the parking authority. You're up again.
Okay.
Aren't you lucky?
So I cannot, as somebody who's currently being vetted on the board approvals themselves, I won't be providing much, comment or discussion around that particular process.
Okay.
But I will provide a process on the title and the survey work, that's underway right now. There were 2 RFPs that were issued, one for survey. We got 3 respondents to that RFP, and that's been awarded to, Colliers Engineering for an amount, not to exceed $20,000. Okay, right now, we're just awaiting, contract signatures for that. There's a certified item that needs to come back from the council for us to move forward
For
with
the
that agreement.
lowest bid, or?
Yes. So they were, so we're pretty confident with that. For the title work, we sent that RFP out to 6 known vendors. Only one responded, which was Chicago Title. But fortunately for us, they came in at about $4,000 per parking structure, so $16,000 general, which is actually, a lot lower than we thought we would have to, pay for those particular service. Okay, and they were given, the notice to proceed. So that work should take about 4 to 6, weeks. Once all that work is done, that's when the appraisal work gets away and, a lot of the bonding, process later in the late winter, early spring. That,
Commissioner, will the city be hiring a separate appraiser to actually value the parking garages, or are they relying on the appraisal that has been performed internally by BCAR?
Oh, yeah, okay. So on that, BCAR, for us to provide a revenue projection, BCAR provided, a valuation estimate. So there was no, I would say, any official valuation or appraisal done on the structures yet, right? That was basically done, looking at, comparable values of similar structures, right? The amount of revenue that BCAR brings in, and they use a cap rate, from like 8 to 10% to provide like a window of possible estimated valuations, right? So that went from $45 million to $56 million. And that, again, those are just estimates. I wouldn't even call that, an official valuation, but for us to provide something, as far as the revenue projection in the budget, BCAR, performed that exercise, okay? And then that was the $40 million that was projected in our 4-year plan. For fiscal 2025, 2026, we have our first initial payment, which would amount to about $26.5 million. So what that does, that provides us a lot of wiggle room, basically, to have different valuations come in. So even if the ramps were valued at, let's say, $38 million, well, those payments can be adjusted in the outer years. We can still get our $26.5 million for fiscal 25, 26, but an official.
We're gonna get an official
Yes.
appraisal.
Yes, I just want to just go over the methodology used, and that it was not an official valuation.
Thank you for that. It explains a lot. So will there actually be an RFP issued for an appraisal company to do the appraisals once the survey
Yes,
and the other stuff is
yes,
complete?
so it will be, it will be official.
And then the expectation is that'll be completed by the end of this calendar year? I know the city's fiscal year, of course, carries into the next calendar year.
I can't say for sure that particular work would be done by the end of this calendar year. I could say winter.
Anything else on the parking? Right? Right? Do you have anything?
It's moving along as scheduled. I mean, there won't be any major updates until closer to the end of the calendar year, but.
Ray, who gets appointments to the board? The board of parking, is it all by the mayor?
Yes, with, council, having one,
And how many are on the board?
5.
5?
Yeah.
No, I was saying
Oh,
5
okay.
and, sorry, 5 appointees. I was answering.
5 appointees, 4 by the mayor, 1 from the council. Not from the controller.
No, but I do.
It's not good.
Following up on executives.
Yeah.
Laying out the schedule, I think. If you're saying the appraisal won't be completed until probably sometime in the next calendar year. Steps following that, then, to issue bonds and everything before the completion of this fiscal year, is that doable?
Yeah, so we've had internal discussions, with our financial advisor, and other professionals. I, at this point in time, don't see an issue. I just can't commit to saying appraisal work will be finished this calendar year. I can't make that promise.
No, but if you were to estimate a schedule of the things that have to be done,
Sure.
and one can't be done until
Absolutely.
something before it has to be done, how is that laying out in terms of typical time to get the bond issue done?
Yeah, so once all this title survey work is done, so let's say, what are we, late September now, so October, November. End of November, we can probably start looking at that appraisal work getting done, so you're getting into now December, looking at these valuations. So, I mean, it'll be close. I don't wanna go on the record and say,
Right, but then the appraisal gets completed. Work being done simultaneously, or does it have to wait until after the appraisal is complete for bond issue actually take place? You're gonna have to,
something,
you know,
yeah.
issue an official statement, it's
Exactly.
gonna be a new, authority, there's going to be underwriting done and all of those types of things.
Yep.
That takes time.
It takes months,
probably.
months, yeah, it will take months. So we've had that discussion. As long as we can get this underway in the first, month or two of 2026, we're pretty confident that we could finalize the transaction by the end of June.
But you'll be able to have the cash flow to cover your budget for the years. I'm not worried about the out years, but it's this first year.
Sure.
It's getting pretty close, it seems to me, that you wouldn't be able to receive the bond payments in time for this year to cover your deficit. What
Yeah, so
would
we'll.
you do then?
Yeah, so we'll know, I'm right, and that was covered in our gap closing
Right.
plan that was provided to the board here, right? Again, we are, at this point in time, confident that the timeline is moving on and everything's okay, but,
Would you indulge us then in just maybe provide in writing at some point, schedule of each of those tasks that need to be completed, an estimated time, to see if it even plays out so that it will be completed by the end of the year? I think that would be helpful for all of us.
Sure.
Thank you.
I have a question for the representative from the Controller's Office. Elena,
Yes, sir.
do you guys have, any cash flow that we could review to see whether or not there may be the possibility that revenues, actually cash may require a RAND borrowing?
Actually, on the cash flow, 25, actually, I will be speaking on that, tomorrow during the council finance committee. We are projecting, I believe, January all the way through May. Cash flow for the city of Buffalo.
And what's the maximum cash flow deficit you guys are looking at, and when will that take place?
I remember. I think we have a $50 million month. Might be in the month of March.
All right, so in other words, there's consideration being given to issuing RANds based on the timing of state aid and tax collections and all that?
Possible cash strengths of going into capital. Because I'll give a review, my notes are about the capital. We know first two quarters of calendar year. Cash constraints and have to funding from up the joint account between the state and local.
Oh, wait a minute.
Is there- yeah.
Use cash.
Go ahead.
Obviously, the cash flow should include the Board of Education and the city's revenues and expenditures. You got them separated and then combined?
Yes.
Okay, so using the Board of Education's revenues along with the city's revenues, based on Board of Education, expenditures, when do you anticipate, on a combined basis, that the cash is gonna run out?
Cash won't run out on a combined basis because of cash on hand. So the board of
On
education,
an operations basis, are you gonna use their fund balance?
yes, not their fund, we're gonna use their cash. When you look at the cash flow report, we file a cash flow report, you have, 3 pages, you have one with the city of Buffalo.
Yeah.
You have one report for
Yeah.
education, you have combined. You look at that combined report, first we look at the city of Buffalo.
Right,
Report, you'll see it going in the negative.
right.
The education will stay in the positive, but when you net it, they'll always be in the positive because of the cash on hand.
Okay, in prior years, though, when the state would delay funding for this, for state aid to education, you normally would run out of cash.
That hasn't happened, but
Okay.
if they do, then it will be a real concern.
All right, so I was just curious then, on a combined basis,
Yeah,
even though you're using, they obviously do use, board revenues, whether or not there's gonna be a cash flow deficit.
we're not projecting out, combined basis.
Okay, oh, so in other words, you're saying right now that on a combined basis, there won't be a need for a RAN?
At this point, no, but there's a
Okay.
delay
All right,
in funding to the Board of Education, and that would change that.
Okay. all right.
Thank you. Are there other questions? Statements?
No, this time.
On this? Okay. This concludes the business portion of our meeting as included in the agenda. Are there any new business matters to be discussed? Yes.
Mr. Secretary, I'd like to know the status with regards to the borrowing on behalf of the city and what appears to be the continued reluctance or resistance from the Comptroller's office to issue the borrowing. As someone who's working with our budget office continually, the failure to borrow not only is hindering the city's availability to move projects forward, it is costing the city much more in the long run because the cost of projects is increasing dramatically, especially when we're talking about road and construction projects where some of the increases are 10 to 12% annually. I'm very concerned about this alleged debt cap. Having been a controller, understanding the role of the controller, and also as an attorney looking at the provisions of the city charter, I don't see anything that actually requires a debt cap to be put in place. It's a self-analysis from the controller's office. I've spoken with the mayor himself, and I felt that this was inappropriate. And it's not a critique of the mayor, it's a critique of what's happening with regards to the controller's office. I fully support the legal action that has been taken to move this process along. And I'm exceptionally worried because of the cost of projects today. If the city continues with its self-imposed debt cap at the figure that the controller's office has identified, they were not going to be able to do much of any projects in the future due to the increased cost. We have just some road projects in Erie County that are a mile to a couple miles long, but we're also rebuilding sewers and the like, and they're costing $9, $12, $15 million for one project alone. And at the number as proposed by the city controller, the city will be hamstrung and never be able to actually get behind its infrastructure issues it deals with. So I'd like to get an update as best as possible from the commissioner as well as the representative from the controller's office. This is hurting the city of Buffalo, and as a city of Buffalo resident, I don't like it. As someone who is constantly dealing with budgets, constantly dealing with the costs associated with borrowing. Our borrowing for 2026 is going to be the largest one we've ever had, and it has to do with the increasing cost of projects, not including the stuff with the jail. It's $80 million.
Yeah, we're planning to bond approximately $74 million.
And I don't think the city.
$54 million would be.
So I am concerned that if this continues and drags on, not only will it have delayed the projects this year, it will have prevented the city from addressing cash flow issues by getting cash, putting it back into its operating budget for projects that have already had some expenditures associated with it once the actual bond resolution was passed, because you can front money once a bond resolution is passed. So I'd like to know what the latest status is.
Thank you. And just so you know, at our special meeting, we did have a request to go back and to review formulas or how they were calculating the debt cap and to have a future discussion on all of that. So
I appreciate that, Mr. Secretary, but as a leader of government, you can't wait on things like that. It has to move quickly. And if I was the mayor, I'd be suing the controller. As the former controller, a controller is a ministerial duty. All due respect to my former controller over there.
I have to respectfully disagree with you, Mr. Executive, but I'll leave it at that.
we'll leave the controller to controller fight inside the room at this point. But Mr. Delano, do you want to?
The only public thing I can say in regards to the executive is that, as everyone knows, this is a legal matter right now. Probably you also can say that the comptroller did go to the bond market last Thursday for $22 million for bond projects for the Board of Education and $7 million for federal projects for the city of Buffalo. those projects are reimbursable, we have rates of 98% and 5%. The capital budget borrowing.
Right, do you have anything?
And the lawyers right now.
Okay.
Much the same.
So from what you just said, none of what is being issued applies to the cap that controller applies as the amount that should be incurred by the city, because everything that's being issued is either the Board of Education, that's 97+% reimbursed, or city projects that fall under the reimbursable category. So if I understand it correctly, none of the $28 million cap that the controller set and the mayor proposed and the council approved is included in any bond issuance right
Well,
now.
the bond issuance, the 29 million issuance for a ban, the bond anticipation.
Right.
The cap is based on a bond. The issue, a project amount, $29 million.
But you didn't issue anything that wasn't fully reimbursable.
Right.
And I think that's the director's point, is that there was a $28 million cap, and that, at least in our understanding, that things that are fully reimbursable weren't going to be included under that cap, to the extent that all of them are.
It may be.
Maybe, okay. I guess that's a concern, that we're not.
Wait, so in other words, you're considering another 28-something million dollars for long-term bonds, in addition to the ban at some point? Well, whether it's this year, it's quite, but in other words, the capital, like the 29 million in bans you just issued does not include the cap on on 28 million or whatever of long-term bonds.
So, you said you went to market, so they actually closed the bond anticipation note? That was just this past week? You have 1 year basically to pay that off, or to roll it over into another bond anticipation note?
Or bond it out.
Or bond it out. So, Commissioner Osworthy, so how much otherwise was the mayor expecting to be borrowing this year, and what would be considered non-school board or reimbursable amounts?
Right, so the CPC approved the $28 million budget. Those were the projects that were not reimbursable, which was part of the discussion there. Those were the items that were not part of this particular sale. So it would be those group of projects amounting to the full $57 million that had bond resolutions that the controller can go to the market.
So only about 10 million less than what the county is issuing. I mean, I think the $110 million is a little excessive for the city of Buffalo, given its current fiscal condition, and still, the fact that they still haven't spent over $20 million of prior year bond sales that the taxpayers are still paying for. So I don't know what the capability is of the city to be able to process $110 million worth of outstanding bonds.
And that 110 was brought down to 57 million.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're.
No, I don't know.
It was brought down because of paperwork,
Right.
resolution.
No, I didn't know specifically because he was supporting the mayor's position on issuing $110 million worth of bonded indebtedness, and I don't know if that fiscally is responsible. I think it's frivolous.
I think at this point, if the city is not borrowing money and moving ahead with these projects, it's basically shooting itself in the foot. It's
Well-
only gonna cost a lot more.
Well,
And
you don't know that. They're talking about rate cuts.
You can see the costs associated with projects. This is not like when you were controller and you were seeing 2 to 3% growth. Growth on an annual basis in construction projects is 10 to 15%, which when you're talking about $30 million, not chump change.
I'm thinking about the cost to the taxpayers of the city of Buffalo, not the people in Clarence and Williamsville that, that pay the debt service on your bonds. And for us to be issuing $35 million, and for the city to be issuing $35 million more than Erie County on a city that's like the fifth worst in the country, I think that's a little overstated.
Actually, a big Lower Sewer debt.
Yeah, well,
Okay.
you guys have the tax base to pay for it.
Tom,
Just as a comment, I'm having difficulty understanding why it would be fiscally irresponsible, whether the number's 28 million, 110 million, or 200 million, if it's being reimbursed.
No, we're not.
I just don't understand why that would be.
No, this is separate. It's got nothing to do with reimbursement.
Absolutely it does. Absolutely it does.
Well, the
They're not
110
touching the
well,
28.
the 110 has the reimbursable. thing.
Yeah, so there was a
But they already issued for that.
No, I understand, so we're no longer talking about 110, we're now talking about, it's just so everybody's clear, right? So we're not talking about the reimbursables, we're talking about whatever projects would be bonded. And,
Which is within the,
which is, well, it may be more than 28 million, maybe less than 28 million. We don't know at this part, but what we are pretty sure of from my perspective is that we need to do an analysis to talk about what the optimal borrowing rate, including debt service, is, with a comparison, as I think we asked for last time, to look at what other cities are doing in similar states, to look at our property tax base and see what, because all of those variables are going to be important in coming up with an optimal amount of borrowing. And I think we need to have that discussion, but we don't have the information right now to have that.
If you're gonna,
Did you finish your thoughts?
Mr. Director, if you're gonna do that, then you need a lot more information.
Yeah.
The city of Albany alone is a greater tax levy, than the city of Buffalo. 1/3 of the city of Albany is non-taxable in its state. So we're also going into policy decisions about what is going to be the tax rate for the city of Buffalo, because you can't just do an apples-to-apples comparison of borrowing on a monthly or an annual basis.
No, I'm just thinking along the lines of the ability to borrow money on projects that will take years to be built. And people should not be paying debt service on projects. They're still.
I think it's a fair point. Yeah, that's
Director Keenan, did you?
Yeah, that's what I'm getting at. is-
So Director Keenan, did you finish your thought or your question or your comment?
not totally thanks.
Go ahead.
So I think there's the one issue of, throwing around fiscally irresponsible or not, when the city is not proposing to exceed the controller's cap of 28 million for projects that are not reimbursable. So anything above and beyond that, I don't see how that's called fiscally irresponsible if it's gonna be reimbursed. So nobody's arguing, it appears, about the $28 million.
We're past the
controller's
reimbursement side.
No, we're not. No, we're not. I don't think so. And then my second point, thank you for giving me the floor back, is that if I understand the role of the Fiscal Stability Authority, we should be taking, advising, commenting on, reviewing these types of things. So it does seem appropriate to me that we should be taking a position, whether it's, for or against, I'm not even saying right now, but, to the county executive's comment, this really shouldn't wait. It's got to be moved faster. And I guess I would ask legal counsel, is it even appropriate that we would be filing in the court suit as a friend of the court on, given our role as advisors to the city on what we think?
Yeah, I think, you mean like an amicus brief of some sort? I think that would be unusual at this stage. I mean, my only comment would be that, I was in court today, and the judge indicated he was gonna rule this week. He was gonna make a ruling, so I won't editorialize on try to handicap where he's gonna come down. But, I think you'll have a decision this week.
What judge was that?
Emilio Cogliacomo.
Do you have any?
No, I'm good.
Anybody else? I think, just from my perspective, is that if we're going to make a recommendation, we have to have the information and the data to make a good recommendation, just to make a recommendation. That's not to say that we shouldn't do this very, very quickly, but I think there's a bunch of legwork that still needs to be done before we can bring a resolution to this. But I also think that that's why Executive Director Rowe brought us to a special meeting 2 weeks ago? 2 weeks ago, was to start that process. seems a long time, but to start that process so we could be ready. So I think we all agree with you, Director King, that we need to work quickly on this, and we need to have the information to make it a good decision. And hopefully we can work on that and have something soon. And if that means another special meeting, well, then we'll have another special meeting, and I'll apologize ahead of time for taking even more of your time with all of these. Is there any other discussion that we need to do? I'll open the floor now to the public for any comments. Is there anybody either online or on email or internet that have anything? No? Okay. So seeing none, this concludes this meeting of the Buffalo Fiscal Stability Authority. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, everybody.